Welcome everyone to Coffee with a Codex. My name is Dot Porter. I am a curator in the Schoenberg Institute for Manuscript Studies, which is in the Kislak Center for Special Collections, Rare Books and Manuscripts in the University of Pennsylvania Libraries. And in the Schoenberg Institute, we study manuscripts. We do a lot of digitization, a lot of digital projects. But we also have a really great collection of manuscripts. And part of the Kislak collection is the collection at the CAJS Center, which is Judaica Studies. And every once in a while, our friend Louis Meiselman comes to talk about a manuscript that he has been cataloging. Louis is our Judaica Special Collections cataloging librarian. And today he is going to tell us all about this manuscript right here. It is a manuscript made in London in 1745, so 18th century, a little later than what we normally do. It is in Hebrew. And before I turn it over to Louis, I just want to start by opening this up. So you think, I know we did this last week too, the whole like book reveal. So this looks like a big book, right? It's in my hands. It's a great big book. This is actually the box that the book comes in. And the reason I wanted to start with this is because when you open the box, instead of a great big book, you actually have a little book that has the same label as the box. And I just thought this was so fun. So I wanted to show you this. So I'm going to take it out. It's got this nice ribbon. These are really great because I don't have to like try to get my fingers in there. So I just lift it up and I take it out. I also think it's amusing that, of course, because the book is in Hebrew, it reads right to left. So the spine is on the right, but the box, the spine is on the left, like a English or a Latin book. So let's get this out of the way. And then now I'm going to turn it over to Louis. Hi, Louis. I'm just going to zoom in a little bit if you want to start talking.
So, hi everybody. I'm joining you on Zoom. I'm not in the room with the manuscript, um, but I did choose this manuscript to present on the next, well, which is now today, the Coffee with the Codex, because of its interesting proportion. And it's also because of its very important factors. Besides for the fact that I'm a big Judaica fan, so I say every manuscript is important, but this one, as I will explain, actually is extremely important as a manuscript. Um, and thanks, Dot, for pointing out about the custom case which this manuscript is housed in. The firm which created that case is called Whites and Coleman in New York, and the book is small. It's like approximately the size of an octavo printed item, but the case makes it one of our largest manuscripts if you consider the closed case to be the entire manuscript, which I think we do. And we purchased this a number of years ago at an auction of an important collector in New York who assembled a very wide-ranging Judaica collection that was sold off in 2019 for the most part. So this item has been rebound. Um, Recently, I believe this was rebound by the collector. Before the collector, it was owned by the American Jewish Historical Society, and I am not sure where they got this manuscript before that. The reason I say that is because I want to give just a little bit of background information about where this comes from and where other manuscripts of this type are housed or are collected. Um, the author of this manuscript, his name was Moses Gomez de Mesquita, and that's the best that I can do with the Sephardic Portuguese pronunciation. In the record, I gave like a more accurate transliteration pronunciation of his name, and he had the position of being like sort of the chief rabbi for the Sephardic or Spanish Portuguese Jews in London. Um, he took over from someone else and was succeeded by someone else. And the name of that office is called Chacham. Chacham means wise in Hebrew, but it's sort of like rabbi, uniquely referring to a Spanish Portuguese or maybe a Sephardic rabbi. And this was a formal office for the Spanish Portuguese Jews in London. And later on, during the early 19th century, they had a historian, a famous person named Moses Gaster, who wrote a book about the history of the Spanish and Portuguese community in London, and he has a list there of all the Chachamim, that's plural for Chacham, including the author of our manuscript, and he's got also as well. Um, a register of all of their formularies and compendiums in manuscript, exactly like our manuscript today, and ours is missing from his list.
Oh,
So already approximately 1900, he did not see this when he was creating his register. That's the first thing that struck me of how important this was, because it's when you go and look at his work and the plates in his work of Chachamim before and after our author, they're strikingly similar, despite being written by different people.
mm,
Um, the reason that is because they were trained formally on the Sephardic script, and the fastidious semi-cursive Sephardic script that is written by the Chachamim in London, especially, is something that's almost immediately apparent and very remarkable. Um, yeah, thanks, Todd. If you could just
yeah,
show
so I'm
us
going
the
to go ahead
first
and,
page there so we could look at the script.
yeah.
And just getting back to that register, a lot of those works work the same as this book, which includes unique prayers. Well, by that I mean communal prayers, formal communal prayers. There are what's called formularies, which are instructions to create documents with a certain purpose. And there's also legal portions to these manuscripts. So that is really my introduction to this manuscript, is that something like this would generally not be on the market because of the fact that these are all in one place and they're owned by one owner. But this one was, for some reason, not part of that line that is mentioned as Moses Gaster's register. So let's get started talking about what's in the manuscript.
Okay. Before you do that, there is a question in the chat asking if this is Rashi script.
Oh, well, that's a big discussion, what Rashi script is and when that began being called Rashi script. But suffice it to say for today that I don't use the term Rashi script to describe this script, even though it is very common to use it to describe it. And I think a lot of people would know what you mean when you say Rashi script, but that just has to do with the merging of the figure of Rashi and the script uh, into one sort of idea and one sort of connotation or way of speaking. But the professional way to refer to this script is Sephardic semicursive. Sepharad refers to Jews from Spain, and it's true that this script did emerge from Spain. And I will tell you also that it is keeping very much integrally to the medieval Spanish way of writing. The medieval. Let me add just the word professional, because this is
Mhm.
clearly a very professionally written manuscript. I should point out too that a lot of manuscripts, especially formal ones, are ruled in some way. They have either pencil ruling, or lead ruling, blind ruling. Um, I don't remember seeing any ruling on this manuscript, not
I
even
don't,
blind ruling.
yeah, I don't see any. I know I can't zoom in all the way, but I am sitting here with it. I don't see any ruling.
No ruling.
Um, no.
which is also remarkable because he writes so straight
Yeah.
and everything is so orderly. Um, it just, but before like discussing the contents, it's just I found this to be such a nice manuscript, nice and meaning orderly, good looking,
Mhm.
well executed. I think that's what I'm trying to say. So yeah, on that. So the first portion, which is very historically significant, I think, is what I call the occasional prayers. Occasional means an occasion, a specific occasion,
Mhm.
and offices of rabbis in London or in England up until today write formal prayers for historical events and events that occur. So on that page that you're looking at right there, which is folio 3 recto, is
There.
a prayer that Moses Gomez wrote for the expulsion of the Jews from Prague and certain parts of Bohemia. Um, Maria Theresa, the Holy Roman Empress, in 1744 expelled the Jews out of Prague. They were not out of Prague for a very long time, but that was a major event and sort of far away, especially for those times. Far away in London, there was a special prayer composed for them. And here, what you're looking at is he has a caption, and then he has a specific order of verses. Um, I would only guess based upon later items that I've seen that these were verses that were recited repetitively in the Sephardic synagogue. And then at the end of a lot of these types of occasional prayers, you would also have a sort of a uniquely composed prayer, which is not verses and it's not borrowed from any other text. It's a prayer composed by the author. And that was also something that the Chachamim in London um, and really elsewhere did compose for historical events. Um, if you let me just see which folio. I think it would be on folio 7 verso dot. Um,
7 verso. Let me see. Here's 7 verso. Here's 7 verso.
yeah.
Yeah.
So there is a series of prayers. If you look there, starting on 7 verso, there is a series of prayers composed by the author during the Jacobite Rebellion. I believe that was 1746. And that's what you're looking at right there. That continues until 13 recto. And that's another prayer. What you're seeing is different prayers that were written successively during the course of the war, ending, of course, with the prayer upon the victory. Not all the prayers are begging for victory. Some of them are actually are joyous, and William Augustus, the Duke of Cumberland, was the victor. England was the victor in the Jacobite Rebellion in 1746. So that that is what you see there. A prayer. These are prayers and items composed actually for this occasion. Um, because of the formal composition of this manuscript and the way it occurs linearly, I would say that this was probably rendered after all these events and was not during the event, but I don't know for sure. It's possible that it was rendered during the war and the previous prayer was rendered in 1744 during, when the Jews were expelled from Prague. But either way, this is something that I think something that would be central to this history of Sephardim in London, and is a really important manuscript, just to show the Jewish reaction to these major historical events that occurred.
Yeah. So there are a couple of questions. One of them is my question. As I've had this page open, this is like as a non-Hebrew reader, I do not read Hebrew, but I look at a lot of scripts, and it looks like there are words written on this page that are in different, these are in a different script.
That's correct.
It's Hebrew script, but it's clearly not the same. And I'm just wondering what that is, why it's doing that.
So this is something that's more common, especially among liturgical manuscripts, is that the initial word, what we call the initial word or the opening of the paragraph, the first word of a paragraph,
Mhm,
um, will be in a bold script and or a square script. That's the professional term,
mhm,
square. And then the rest of it, unless there's a highlight, like for example, um, George the Second or Georgi Zikondo, over there, that's on the verso on 12v, is written also in the Sephardic square script.
mhm.
Further, if you look further down, it's 5 lines from the bottom, and excuse me, 6 lines.
Oh, six
Um,
lines. There we go. Oh, yeah, there.
so yeah, that's referring to George the Second,
Hmm.
I believe. So y- th- a lot this is a common occurrence among Hebrew manuscripts, especially of liturgy, to possibly to accustom your eyes to seeing a new paragraph and distinct it to make it distinct,
Right.
or to just to create, a more separate paragraphs that are more distinct creations. I don't know. That you see that there are square scripts for the initial word. The square script is larger in size, and often the second line will be indented so that
Hmm.
the script above it is not cramped.
Right.
Um, and that, for I can give you many examples, but like you see that in Oriental manuscripts as well, where the script is very scripty and looks almost like Arabic in many cases, or
Hmm.
what's called the Turkish Hebrew script, where the first word is very distinctly square, and then it will continue in the cursive.
Hmm.
Um, it it may be more of a unique feature with Hebrew liturgical manuscripts, early modern, or it may be a feature that's more general with liturgical manuscripts and not just Judaic or Hebrew. But that's correct that it is a different script.
Cool. Thank you. There's also a question in the chat asking if the prayers are a mix of Hebrew and Judeo-Espanol, or if it's all, I guess if it's all Hebrew.
That's a good question. In this case, the prayers themselves are Hebrew. We're going to talk about legal documents which contain instructions, um, and other legal material, that those are in Portuguese.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
and then there are some texts that are in Aramaic also, such as the ketubah, the marriage document, get the divorce document. So those are previously prescribed in Aramaic and in an old Aramaic, I may add. Um, so those are also different languages. So for this manuscript, when I cataloged it, I used three language codes,
Okay,
um, to cover it all.
great. All right, let's look at some more.
Okay, so that briefly concludes the prayers portion of the manuscript. The next portion, what you see at the top, the first word on the caption is the word seder, which means a whole bunch of things, in the context of manuscripts, but in this case is what we call a formulary, um, which is it's the job of what you would say a chief rabbi to create the exact form of documents that he wants perpetuated in his rabbinical court, and his version of such a document, whether or not it's different than other rabbis' versions of it. Um, and that is part of their output. These texts that you see in the formularies are also in other manuscripts for the London Chachamim. Some are the same and some are different. But that just goes to show you what this office was about, first of all, and second of all, the use of these types of things for the day-to-day lives of Sephardim in London during the 18th century. So the first one you see, Seder Haget, is the order for divorce, meaning the formulary for a divorce document, and is written exactly in this manner. Uh, consult this book, consult this manuscript, and you write it exactly so. That is why the rabbi transcribed it exactly so. Um, that's followed by the one for the ketubah, which is the marriage document, um, which is just the version of the text. I think you turn again. It's on the next, and then on the next, sorry.
It's okay.
Um, well, actually, we could stop here. I'll just explain this leaf. Um, this is not the text anymore. This is actually the order of the proceeding for the issuance of the divorce, where the witnesses say something, and then the husband says one thing, the wife says another thing, and it is an exact formal proceeding in the Beth Din or in the rabbinical court. Now,
This is 20, and it has
yeah,
some
some
kind of, yeah. Oh, and it looks like is this the Portuguese?
that is Portuguese, and that is instructions. That is instructions. What you have there, um, what you have there is a different version of the divorce. Is that 25V?
No, this is 23, and here's 20, no, 22, 23. Are we going to 25? Because I can take us to 25.
Yeah, because I just wanted to
Yeah,
point out on 25 is
yeah, here we go.
okay. So first of all, on 25 is an interesting thing which I haven't really seen is a special ketubah or marriage document um for a deaf bride. Um
Oh,
which is I found that to be something kind of different. Um,
do you
that
think that he wrote this because there was a special circumstance?
usually,
Oh,
I would say that usually that occurs, and then he creates it. There's another document created in his archives, and then
mm,
from his archives, he created a formal manuscript.
right.
Um, and then on the facing leaf is an older text that was created in the early Middle Ages for if one loses a ketubah, so they have to replace it. So there's different text for the replacement ketubah as opposed to an original ketubah.
Mm,
Um, if you if you don't mind, just going back to 24V, I'll show
sure.
you one more thing.
Yep, here we are.
Yes. That says Yivamin at the top, which is a ketubah. I don't know if he wrote it, but that is a ketubah for what's called the levirate marriage. Real quick, levirate means if one somebody it comes from the Bible. If one had a brother and the brother was married but with no children, and he died, so then his brother has the option to marry the widow to continue the marriage of his brother and sort of allow them to continue in some way. The Ashkenazim, or people not from Spain but from Northern Europe, had stopped this practice many centuries before, and certain Sephardim did. But this is evidence that not all Sephardim had stopped this practice, and this was continuing even up until the 18th century. What is formerly known as levirate marriage, and this is a formulary for such a thing.
Interesting.
Um, and then that is instructions for the witnesses to reply. Those instructions are again written in Portuguese.
Yeah.
And then finally, the final portion of this manuscript is more legal portions, which include which include the wait, what you just passed out is
Oh,
the that's the form for the betting to create well there are forms for the betting to create a collection document for somebody who owes money and does not pay. So
mhm.
they'll create a documenting the seizing of his property, harsha'a, that's what you see there. Um, and then there's there's a formulary for granting somebody semicha or ordination, which could be either to be a rabbi or in this case is just the ability to slaughter fowl, um, chicken, duck, so on, or the
Which leaf
ability.
is that on? I,
That's actually where you just were.
oh, is it this right here? Or,
No, that would there you go, right there.
okay.
Um,
There we go.
So that is what you see there says Nusach Simicha al Shechita Uvedika, and that is for that's a higher level than just fowl. That is actually to slaughter all animals and then to check them for the kosher for symbols of being kosher, and to pronounce it kosher. That is the text issued to give somebody that sort of ordination or privilege. And okay, now here, just continuing the discussion before about the levirate marriage, all the way at the end of the manuscript, on 42R is what's called chalitza, which is the opposite of yibum, which is the levirate marriage. So chalitza is what Ashkenazim had been practicing for centuries, um, which is where the widow of the brother decides they well let's say they both decide not to get married, so they go through a different type of ceremony called the chalitza. Some call it the abjural ceremony, which could be what it means, but that's just to give you an idea of what that's about. And that is written all the way at the end of this manuscript, as opposed to the Yibum, the Leveret, which is written way earlier in the manuscript. I wasn't sure what to conclude upon that, but it was something that struck me that I, from what I have heard, during the 18th century, chalitza was far more common. Yet that is written far all the way at the end of the manuscript, and the Yibum ceremony, the Leverett ceremony, is written at the center.
That is interesting. If the order means anything, I don't know.
Yes, yes.
Right.
But again, we look at a manuscript like this and we say, well, did he mean this to be published? Is this what we would call a manuscript for publication? Um, I don't know. I mean, if he would, maybe he would intend that this material is all published exactly in this order. Um, what you're looking at there is the order of the Chalitza in Portuguese as well.
Okay.
Um, there's a
So,
halachic or Jewish legal requirement for both the man and the woman to say an exact form of words, and here it is translated into Portuguese, sort of as a way to speak in a language that they both understand. If they didn't understand Hebrew or didn't understand it as well.
right.
Um,
Great. So we're almost at time. There is one question in the chat that I want to get to, and then we can go. Nathan says, I love how the concluding lines of many of these legal documents are arched or justified. I assume this started as an aesthetic thing, but sort of got standardized as a legal requirement in and of itself, and that's a question. Is it, or is it aesthetic?
Yeah, it's true. It is arched. I think that is just aesthetic. That was my conclusion upon cataloging the manuscript. I have never heard of any kind of legalese saying that the paragraph has to be tapered, or or X tapered, coming out. I think that is just a way to sort of make it look nice. It could be that it could be another layout feature where it's designed to accustom your eyes and your reading to immediately conclude that this is the end of what we're trying to say or this formal document, this legal document. But it may just be even more simple than that, that it's just, to look nice,
Yeah,
to uh to have some kind of, visual thing.
yeah. Well, thank you so much, Louis. It's always a pleasure to have you come and talk to us about the manuscripts you're working on. And thanks everyone for coming. This is great. And Louis, he's going to be back. So if you enjoyed today, come back next week and then watch the schedule for when Louis returns. And I hope you all have a wonderful week. This has been recorded, so it's also going to go on YouTube if you want to watch again. And take care, and we'll see you later.
Thank you, Doc. Thank you, everybody.